Hi, everyone. Before I get to the episode, I want to take a moment to address the United States Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade on June 24th, which stripped away the right to have a safe and legal abortion. Restricting access to comprehensive reproductive care, including abortion, threatens the health and independence of all people, which we have already seen with abortion bans and restrictions in countries like Poland and Malta. This decision has dire consequences and could have harsh repercussions for other landmark decisions within the United States. I encourage our audience, American and otherwise, to learn more about what you can do to help at podvoices.help. I encourage you to speak up, take care, and spread the word.
Welcome to the Ellevate podcast, conversations with women changing the face of business. And now your hosts, Kristy, Wallace, and Maricella, Herrera.
Hello and welcome to the Ellevate podcast. This is your host, Kristy Wallace, with my co-host, Maricella Herrera, and that is the last time I'm saying that, Maricella. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. It's
300 plus episodes. I've said it so many times, and then now you're gonna have to, figure out your own catchphrases, Maricella.
Oh, geez, pressure. The pressure. I'll call you just so you can say it to me every now and then.
Oh, I don't. Well, now that you put that in my head, just wait. The next time I'm with you, I'm gonna change your ringtone or something to like, "Hello and welcome to the Ellevate podcast." We'll have fun with it. But for those that might have missed the episode last week, this would be my last episode as the host of the Ellevate podcast. Although I will continue, we still have some interviews that are in the queue that you'll be hearing in the coming weeks. But sadly, I am leaving Ellevate Network as the CEO of the organization. I've loved the past 8 years. It has been such an honor to be a part of it. I'm going to take some time for me to kind of recharge myself and put myself first for a little bit and get what I need. I think many of us know that feeling. I have a lot of privilege that I can make this decision, and certainly have been supported along the way by the entire community and by Maricella. So Maricella, thank you for all that you've done. And I cannot wait to see how you continue to change the world and do amazing things as the new CEO of Ellevate Network.
Thanks, Kristy. I am very excited. I will miss you a lot. Nothing goes without saying, so I'm saying it. I will miss you a lot. But I am excited. I am excited to be able to continue the foundation and all the work that you've done and that we've done in the last, many years, 8 years, and keep building this community. And I know you're going to be there, and I know you're going to not get rid of me. There's no way you're going to get rid of me. I know where you live.
Never. No, we already have summer plans, and as soon as Maricella's back from London, we're going to meet up. So it'll be, what is that saying? Is it like Hot Girls Running or something? Isn't that some?
It's Hot Girl Summer.
Hot Girl Summer. Maricella, we'll have a Hot Girl Summer. Unless I'm completely misunderstanding the connotation of that, which could be possible too. Maybe it's like a total derogatory.
No, it's Megan Thee Stallion. It's awesome. We love Hot Girl Summer.
Okay, good. I mean, I'm showing my age and lack of.
I did not know what you were talking about, so.
Right. Now I'm gonna start sending you some giffies like Hot Girls. Yeah, we're gonna have fun. We're definitely we cannot be apart for long.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, it's been too long.
It has been too long, but yeah, already. All right. Well, we have a great interview lined up for today. We're talking with Jillian Haslam. She is a best-selling author, philanthropist, leadership coach, and motivational speaker. Her memoir, A Voice Out of Poverty, details her extraordinary story of growing up in Calcutta, where she faced a bruising childhood of extreme poverty, malnutrition, and disease. Her gift of seeing beauty among the grit led her to rise to success at Bank of America and launched her career as an internationally renowned leadership coach and motivational speaker. I was really touched and moved by my conversation with Jillian. I know this is a lot of heavy conversations, a heavy story, but her grit, her resilience, and her perspective, I think, is something we can all learn from. We each, have times of hardship. Certainly not at the degree of Jillian's, but how we rise out of that hardship, how it shapes us to keep moving forward, and how we gain strength from that is awesome. Hi, Jillian, and welcome to the Ellevate podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an incredible honor to be here today.
Jillian, let's get started learning a little bit more about you. Would you mind sharing a bit about your story and how you got to where you are today?
Yes, of course. My father served in the British Army in World War II, and his parents moved to India. My mother moved with her parents too. They met in India, and all of us, unfortunately, we were mainly girl children. And after India got her independence in 1947, we were reduced to abject poverty. We lost a job, house, everything. And we were reduced to living under a flight of stairs. And as I said, many of us were girl children, so it wasn't very easy. My parents lost 4 children to abject poverty, malnutrition, all before the ages of 6 months. It was as though they took one of us and left one of us, so to speak. And I came along, and my little sister Vanessa just after me. And as far as I can remember, we were moved from one place to the other. My mother took us to many people's houses. Sometimes they took us in, sometimes they asked us to move on because they couldn't keep us anymore. And then we stayed under a flight of stairs, and then we moved to a proper slum under the flight of stairs. It was like a communal area where people washed their clothes, bathed their children, things like that. And then when we moved to the slum in a place called Kidapur in the city of Calcutta, to give you just a brief idea, approximately 3,000 people shared 3 toilets. We had one little room which measured 8 by 10 feet. We filled water from a tube well, and life was truly unbearable. So that's where I grew up, in that little slum. That's where we almost lost my little sister Susan, but fortunately she lived, and she's now married in Australia. I moved to the city of New Delhi to join my elder sister, where I interviewed for a job at Bank of America out of 250 girls. And after more than 6 to 8 months of rigorous testing and interviewing processes, and I finally got selected, and that man changed my life forever.
Thank you so much for sharing. You must have such grit and resilience after growing up, facing such hardships and loss, and then kind of finding this path to New Delhi and Bank of America.
Yes.
What role did you start at Bank of America?
It was a role for an executive secretary to the CEO. And that's why there were 250 girls for the role. In India, to get such a job is like one of the biggest honors of your life, because it's like it's equivalent to working for the Queen of England, really. It's such a big job there. And from there, I went to being the office manager, and then I went to being the head of charity and diversity, and so on and so forth, until today I have a 23-year career in banking, and I've worked for Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, ABN AMRO, and RBS.
Wow. So I know, Jillian, that you also can add to your resume an upcoming book, A Voice Out of Poverty, The Power to Achieve Through Adversity.
Yes.
Why did you, I can guess, but what compelled you to write this story?
Well, when I got my job at Bank of America, there were very influential people and very senior people in the banking industry that actually changed my life. My first boss at Bank of America, my boss at RBS, my boss at ABN AMRO. And since the time I was a little girl, I know many little girls had dreams to be doctors and engineers and teachers and, you know, everything else. But I just wanted to, I just had this burning desire to help as many people as I possibly could. And that may have been because my mother was highly charitable. That also may have been because I just grew up in a place where there were just hundreds and hundreds of children that had nothing, and we were just taught to share everything. So uh, when I got the opportunity to join a bank, and all these people were so helpful, and they helped me every step of the way to get to where I am today, I knew that it was something I had to do, and that is why I personally define success as not just the act of making it through, um, but rather the act of reaching back and taking others with you. And that's what I do every day of my life. I am determined to go back and help many girls out there to change their lives.
And what are some of the ways in which you do that?
Well, some of the ways we do that is, first of all, many of the girls over there, if you were to ask them a question of what do you really want in life, they'll say, ma'am, just to help our families. So many of them are really at the very bottom of the ladder. And so we help them with skills, we help them with education. We follow a program called Education, Empowerment, and Employability, which is an E3 program. And that helps when they come in, we kind of try to ask them, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are you good at, whether you can speak English or not. So if you can speak English, then you can do a secretarial course. If you can't speak English, then you can do a beautician course. And we have very many courses based on this E3 program that we offer them. Obviously, being a motivational speaker, i I definitely encourage them to find their voices and to speak up and to tell their stories to the world. And that gives them the confidence, actually, that is unbelievable. Only today we had an example where a girl came to us and she couldn't even lift her head to speak when she joined us. And today she delivered her first speech to more than 50 girls to open another center for us. And that's how we empower these girls to go forward, not just to help themselves, but again to take others with them.
Jillian, how did you find your voice?
Well, that's a great question. When I was very little, living under the flight of stairs, my sister Vanessa and myself, we got very ill because we were living in absolute squalor. We were running around in the lanes. We had hardly any clothes on, and my mother was trying to, she would bring back some food every day, a little food, and she would say, "My friends have fed me too much, so I want you to, both of you, to eat all of it, all of this," which is nothing. It was just like one naan bread and one piece of meat with a little gravy. And we got very ill, and my mother asked one of her friends to look after us. And she said to my mother, "Of course, bring them here, and I love them. I'll teach them and I'll look after them, Margaret. Don't worry about it." And my mother believed her and she took us in. But my sister Vanessa is fair and blonde and very beautiful. And she kind of took a liking to my sister, but she didn't take a very great liking to me. And my sister Vanessa also, today she's a teacher in this country, but she was always very mischievous. And she used to draw a line in my book, or, do some kind of, some kind of naughtiness or pranks. And this lady used to come out and say, "Who did that?" And I didn't want to get my sister into trouble. And I used to say, "I did it." So she would take me by my ear downstairs every single day to this little toilet, which was kind of 3 by 4 feet. And it was an Indian style toilet. She would put me in there, she would put off the light, and she would close the door from the outside. But that was a torture chamber to me because that toilet was just infested with hundreds of huge flying cockroaches. And that's where I lost my voice. I fell down till the age of 14. I couldn't talk. I, I just couldn't find confidence in anything until my mother used to visit us, and my mother used to keep saying, I hope you're being good girls, and saying your pleases and thank yous. Till one day when my mother came, I just wet myself, and my mother knew something was wrong. But as I grew up, and my mother took us back from that lady's house, and we went back to living under the flight of stairs, which was actually and truly the happiest day of my life. But as I grew up, I knew that I had a problem and that I suffered tremendously with a nervous disposition. I knew I had to fix this. And I had read a book where it said that public speaking was feared more than death by many people across the world. And so that's what I chose. I chose to be a public speaker. And now I finished the whole 10 years and I've just got my DTM, etc. But I knew that I had to feel the fear and do it anyway, really, so to speak.
Thank you for sharing that story, Jillian. When you
Pleasure.
are, throughout your life, as you've faced, tough times, right? And we continued to throughout our lives. Are there things you lean on, internally and externally, support systems to help you navigate those times, and to really lean into that resilience?
Yes, I think definitely one of those times is my mother. I think I am yet. I mean, I think everybody, looks up to their own mothers, which is only right. But in my mother's case, I have never seen her live um, to be happy even one single day, which is very sad. She was a pillar in our family, and her resilience was truly extraordinary. She lost so many children. She worked so hard. She starved herself. She sacrificed every single thing she had. Even when we were living under the flight of stairs, she would still lie down near us on that plastic sheet and tell us stories, make us look at the stars. And she would always say that her stomach is full. She would always make us eat everything. When we moved to the slums, she would make us little Easter baskets with old greeting cards. She would ask us to go to all the tailor shops in the area and gather all these rags from under the tailor shops in the machines that they have. And we would bring it home, and she would stitch these beautiful quilts and coats for us. And there's a picture of the coats in my book. And she would always find the positives in even in the darkest possible times. And I have never seen somebody be able to do that. And for me, I think her resilience was second to none. And that's why I love Dolly Parton so much, because even though we were so many thousands of miles away, but my mother always used her as an example to show us the meaning of resilience and how we should use that in our own lives.
Is your mother still with us today?
No, unfortunately not, and that's one of the biggest regrets I have. I had never had the opportunity to say thank you to her for sacrificing so much. Um, and neither did I ever get a chance to do anything great to make her smile. And unfortunately, I lost her to cancer when she was just 53 years old.
Well, Joan, I'm sure I believe she knew how much you appreciated it. Just hearing you talk about her, it's such a powerful just sentiment and feeling I'm feeling from you. Has your sister read the book?
Most of my sisters have read the book, yes.
Yeah, and what did they think about it? I mean, it's their story as much as yours as well, but it's through your lens and your experiences, and so I always find it's interesting, how our own identity helps to shape that narrative and that story, and I wonder what their thoughts were on the book.
All my sisters are very, very close to me. We are very close. I have managed, fortunately, in life to be there for all of them, and they have equally, been there for me, especially my little sister Susan, who's now married in Australia. I saved her life when she was brought home from the hospital, and the doctors had given her just 3 days to live. And I ran to a tea shop and asked him for milk every day, and he gave me that milk after a great struggle. But it's the milk that helped me to save her life. So she's eternally grateful. My sister Vanessa, who grew up with me, my sister Donna, whom we grew up with in Dum Dum, and all my sisters. I think my mother was a highly charitable person. She would take every stranger off the street and bring them home and ask us to live with them. And sometimes we would say, Mom, we've got such a tiny room, and we are already 5 children in this room with 2 parents. How many more people you're going to bring here? And these are strange men you're bringing into this little room. And my mom always used to say, what 5 can eat, 6 can eat. And just shift up, make another bed, make a little place, and just let him lay his head down. We should share everything we have. And even when I wrote the first edition of my book, and it made it to the front page of the Telegraph and the Independent and all of that, and I was interviewed on the BBC, etc. I had people from across the city in Calcutta trying to contact me just to say thank you to my mom for all that she had done for them. So I think a lot of who my mom was has remained with us. So my sister Vanessa today looks after 2 children who are not her own. They are fostered. My sister Barbara works only with the aged and disabled people. My sister Donna, she was the one who was almost kidnapped in Dum Dum, but she works with autistic children. All my sisters are highly charitable, thankfully.
That's an amazing legacy for your mom, and
Yeah.
the example she set and the impact she's had. I know that you have also given a TED Talk.
Yes, 6 TED Talks.
6 TED Talks. Wow, I need to update my information. My
Oh, no,
goodness.
no, no, don't worry. They call me the serial TED Talk speaker in the UK, and I try to move away from that.
Well, and what was that experience like? The TED Talks are just so powerful, and you're just leaning into a specific message, perspective, story that you want to advocate for. What were some of the topics of your TED Talks?
Well, there were so many topics. One of it is never give up on other complete rubbish. And this is the TED Talk that I think that was my very first TED Talk actually, and it was in Stormont in Ireland. And if you've looked at the Stormont building in Ireland, it's this huge, magnificent building. It's really and truly majestic, and it's up on this hill. And when I was walking up there, I was absolutely so frightened to even walk into that building. And then over dinner, they shared the agenda with us, and it was only lords and ladies and entrepreneurs and heads of the police department and all very senior people. And there was me, um, just had done a public speaking course, had the desire to speak, had done a few training programs, and I was there. And I remember calling my mentor and saying, I can't do this, Bob. I need to get away from you. And he said, Jillian, right now people are hearing you, but they're not listening to you. So this is your opportunity to be heard and to be listened, and for people to take action to help you and your cause. So you're going to stay there and you're going to do it. And I remember getting on stage and watching those numbers going into the hundreds of thousands where people were logging on online, as well as the entire um, auditorium was absolutely packed with people. And I was so scared, and I thought, I'm never going to stand a chance with them. But I delivered the talk, and it's on YouTube. And I was so nervous. I delivered the talk, and by the time I got back to London, I had 50,000 views, and I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that I was so good. I couldn't believe that people loved the story that much. And I think today the views are over 300,000 or something like that. But ever since then, I've been called for very many TED Talks, yeah, to different universities and things like that. Yes.
That's so powerful.
Thank
I mean, your story and your resilience and your passion for change and lifting others up is, I think, a story we all need to hear right now. It's been I think a dark time for many, and a lot of change and uncertainty in this world. And yet, talking to you, I feel this this power of being able to overcome anything, and to stay focused on not just your own well-being, but that of others. And it's something that is very meaningful to me. Uh, do you have advice for our listeners on ways that they can find their voice and give back and build their own legacy of impact?
I think everyone can look, if everyone can look beyond themselves and contribute just a little to people who are in desperate need. So when I was in banking, I've seen many women, get help, and very many senior entrepreneurs have helped women. But there are a lot of girls that are really at the very foot of the ladder who suffer with language problems, skill training problems, family backgrounds, um, abuse, and there's so much that is that they need help with at that level. And so for me, it doesn't have to be with money, that you can only help people. I think you can share what you don't need. It can be you can share and give of your time, and doing small things, because every little thing adds up. If each of us do little, we can see a gradual uplift, as we go by. And this is why I think it's very important for all of us women to try and sponsor or help or guide or coach or give or do anything for the woman next to us. And I think if we share what we give, and if we just don't look out for more and more in our lives, stuff that we don't need, as Gandhi said, there is enough on this earth for every man's needs, but there just isn't enough for every man's greed.
Jillian, thank you so much for sharing your story with us and for joining us today on the Ellevate podcast.
Not at all. Thank you so much for having me. I can't thank you enough.
Welcome back, Maricella. How's it going? How you doing? I know you're now the executive roundtable host, so I hope some of our listeners have joined you. We've got some great upcoming conversations happening. The next one on the executive roundtable is finding power in your voice. We've talked about that so much here on the podcast, and each of us has power in their voice. Just need the support to use it, and the amplification that comes from being part of a community like this. So, you enjoying your time as the host, Maricella?
I am. I mean, look, I have big shoes to fill, so I'm doing my best. But I am. The executive community is amazing, really, at Ellevate, and getting to know them more. A lot of these people are people I've met throughout the years, and it's nice to have this regular touch point now.
Yeah, and this topic is really meaningful to me personally, because I know, having met so many of our executives, they're VPs, C-suite, GMs, partners at a variety of different types of organizations. Many of them are in small to mid-cap companies where they really can affect change. They can have a voice, and they can use that voice to define culture, policies, and more. So I've been incredibly impressed by this community of executives who, from lawyers to consultants to finance and beyond, are shaping the future of business, and leaning into this community to find out ideas, inspiration, and more. So it was a great topic about finding the power in your voice. But I know also at our Rising Leaders roundtable, and that's managers and individuals who are going up the ranks, who really want to work for a place that supports them, that meets their needs, their values, and they want to be managers that people stay for, that are supported. So we're talking about cultivating your personal board of advisors, always so critically important. We are currently in the final days of signing up for a squad, which is your personal board of advisors. We encourage you to sign up at ellevatenetwork.com/squads. And at our Entrepreneur Roundtable, social selling and building your presence. We know as an entrepreneur business owner, your brand really matters, and it's how you're able to reach your customers and to define your space and your voice. So join us at any of those roundtables. Great community, great way to spend an hour of your week getting that inspiration and that support you need. Being a professional is an ongoing journey. It's ongoing education. It doesn't stop when you leave school. So keep it going and invest in your career and your success.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. And we need to close it out with some firsts. Marilyn Malerba became the first Native American to be named U.S. Treasurer.
Karzia Carson became the first Black woman to earn a biomedical engineering PhD from Vanderbilt University.
Carson Pickett became the first player with a limb difference to play for United States women's national soccer team.
Yael Brown-Pivet became the first woman speaker of the French Parliament.
Malika Andrews became the first woman to host the NBA draft.
Toby Marlowe became the first non-binary person to win the Tony for Best Original Score.
All right, and join us back here next week where Maricella will be hosting the podcast with a slew of surprise and amazing guests. And you will be hearing a conversation that I've taped for my interview with Emily Lamia. Emily has been helping people grow and develop in their careers for over a decade. In 2015, she founded Pivot Journeys to create experiences to help individuals navigate their next career move and find meaningful work. See you back here next week on the Ellevate podcast.
Thanks so much for listening to Ellevate. If you like what you hear, help a girl out. Subscribe to the Ellevate podcast on iTunes. Give us 5 stars and share your review. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at EllevateNTWK, that's Ellevate Network, and become a member. You can learn all about membership and all the great things that Ellevate Network is doing at our website, www.ellevatenetwork.com. That's ELLEVATE network.com. And special thanks to our producer, Catherine Heller. She rocks. And to our voiceover artist, Rachel Griesinger. Thanks so much, and join us next week.